Alrighty, cool. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get any more people in. We might get some later, but we'll sort of filter them in as that comes. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us. Seb and I have been working pretty hard at putting together this itinerary and getting us all ready for the trip. We went last year and it was a great success. And the last time we did it before that was in 2019, which was likewise just a great time. So to start off today, I just wanted to provide an acknowledgement of country. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we're broadcasting today. These are peoples of the Kulin Nation, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, and we'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Thank you, Seb. So I'll start off by just giving you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing today. It's sort of broken into 5 parts. We're going to be starting with a little bit about us. Seb will go into all of these in a lot of detail. Then we'll go into an overview of the trip, so what you can expect itinerary-wise, which farms we're going to see, and yeah, just what's sort of in general for the whole entire trip. And then we're going to be talking about crop to cup insights. So this is more on exactly what we do as Farmore and what the impact we aim to deliver is and how we do that. And then we'll just go on to some questions and then talk about tickets and booking and pricing and all that stuff and sort of wrap up the event from there. So if that sounds all good, Seb, I will pass on to you, my friend. Go for it.
Okay, thank you, Jack. As he mentioned, we're very excited to be hosting this 2023 Coffee Immersion Trip, guys, because in my opinion, it is where Farmore begins, right? So we began in a way to bridge the gap between producers and consumers. And what we experience is every single time we take someone with us to origin, the level of connections that we develop are so unique that it's something that everyone should feel like. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of an overview about myself, the company, what we're doing. Then we're going to do for a little bit of a video. It's a testimonial of someone who's accompanied us in the past in these trips. Then we're going to go an overview of the course, and then ultimately questions. So please, along the way, if you have any questions, I'm going to be more than happy to answer them all. Just start putting them in the chat, and then Jack will feed them to me at the end of the session. All right. So buenos dias, and I shall say buenas tardes. Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you for joining us. I'm Sebastian Farias. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Farmore. But I'm also a coffee industry veteran. And most importantly, I'm an advocate for social impact. That's where we exist. So just quickly, I have dedicated my entire career to curating and sourcing some of the finest coffees that I can come across. I'm also a Q grader. Amongst the first Q processing professionals worldwide back in the day. And one of the key things about myself is that I love to teach. In fact, a big part of our humble beginnings, guys, was teaching farmers how to understand their product as well as differentiate it, whilst promoting sustainable practices, which ultimately allow me to create very strong relationships with coffee producers along the way. One of the key factors of Farmore is they know me as the teacher, not the trader, and we try to keep it like that. But anyway, a little bit more about me. So my journey in the coffee industry started washing dishes, guys, believe it or not. Finally speaking, then I became a barista, and that's when everything started up. But ultimately, my passion for the craft saw me quickly learning a lot of the things on the trade, so that I ended up becoming a director of sales and director of coffees for one of Australia's oldest coffee companies, where I ultimately diversified their supply channels and then that company expansion to Southeast Asia, which is one of the areas where Farmore is currently focusing. Later on, I ended up becoming the director of a family-owned coffee export business that was funded by my mom and dad. And that was in a quest for me to connect people. And now, currently, as the co-founder and CEO of Farmore, I'm using my skills and my experience in the industry to change it, to revolutionize it, and all the way that we think about coffee, because I feel that coffee plays a very important role in promoting and creating a better world. So just to finish with who I am, I can only say that my passion for coffee extends beyond its commercial value ultimately, as I'm deeply committed to making a real, lasting, positive impact through great agriculture and transparent trade, which is the principles of farming more. Okay, guys, that's a little bit about me. So let's check on who we are. So what is Farmore? So in simple words, Farmore is a company, guys, that simplifies the process of direct trade for producers and consumers. So we offer services such as sourcing, traceability, we create trust along the supply chain, and we also offer financial solutions from one bag onwards. People who knows our history and the history of El Parche, who's one of our beloved friends, we've been trading with him from 35 kilos onwards in other parts of Asia from just 5 kilos onwards. So what's special about us? We basically work with small-scale independent producers to cultivate high-quality, sustainably grown coffee with a strong focus on realizing better and more consistent returns. That's all about us, right? As well as for you guys, ultimately at the end of the value chain, generating more value optimization by connecting you for real with the people that you're trading. In saying that, and one of the things that we're the most proud of 2022 is that impact is truly at the core of our existence. And despite how short we've been operated, Farmore is only 3 years at its most, we've already been recognized as a business for good. And as a business for good, I mean a social trader certification, meaning Farmore is the only green bean trader in the whole of Australia to be a social enterprise and be certified for it. So a little bit of a promo, but just letting you know, guys, and as I said, I'm very excited that if you're part of any large or small enterprise and you're ultimately looking to create a social impact through something as simple as your coffee procurement, we're the people to contact. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us because, as I've always said, together we can make a huge impact and change the way producers and consumers connect. So why do we exist, guys? And I'm not going to bore you a lot with this. We simply exist because we realize that not only the coffee supply, but we believe the entire agricultural supply chain worldwide is broken, producers are struggling, and it's ultimately a non-sustainable business, right? So if we start, now we're in the sweet spot, but if we look 20 years ahead, there might be really big issues when it comes to agriculture and procurement for the whole world. Keep in mind that Australia almost imports 2/3 of the food that we eat in this country, right? And just going back to coffee, well, 125 million families are dependent on coffee to make a living. Nearly 65% of coffee producers still live in poverty. There's still no solutions for a market leaning towards traceable products, at least not in Australia. We're seeing good companies such as Algrano in Europe, there's Typica in Japan, but unfortunately Australia, and we claim to be the coffee capital of the world, we're not leaning towards that type of companies. So we're one of the first ones. And also because it's very hard to buy directly from producers. So we ultimately want to bridge that gap and make it extremely easy for anyone to buy from any producer or good producer that is part of our network, especially because the main reason why we exist is the fact that they cannot connect to you. It's easier for you to connect to them than them to connect to you. So Far More is basically the bridge to be able to make that possible. A little bit of our story, guys. So a lot of you might not know, but we come a long way. We started in 2018, in fact, 2017, with an NGO, and the NGO was focused in helping Colombia after we finished the civil war. So we did 2 years of NGO work where we only focus on teaching people, first of all, understanding their products, so kind of curating skills, and then advanced post-harvesting techniques in order to differentiate the product. Our idea was differentiated product means more value, more revenue, than impact. Uh, Ultimately, as some of you know, we were wrong in Far More. We were able to develop great agriculture, but we weren't able to connect people to consumers like yourselves. So that's when we changed the scheme of NGO and we turned into the export import sort of business, and we started to think and envision what Far More is today. So in 2019, we were officially founded in Australia in October. And the first thing that we did is I took all of the people that believe in this project at the very beginning to Colombia, which is really cool. I'm doing exactly the same with you guys. It's a life-changing experience. Then in 2020, we started to see our first sales. For those of you who are not aware, our first sales didn't even happen in Australia. It happened in South Korea. But then we started to kind of penetrate the market in Australia, which was really exciting. That's what saw us going into the Velocity Pre-Accelerator, which is part of Melbourne University. And then all that story led to 2021, so just less than 2 years ago, where we built our first MVP. We started to bring all of the coffees here that we've been building for so many years. And then we were accepted into Melbourne University Accelerator program, which is one of the most recognized in the country, guys, simply for our impact. We've got no attachment to Melbourne Uni, but they believed in us and they still sponsor us till today, with the promise that we're going to be a company that's going to change a lot of livelihoods in the world with your help. And now it brings us to 2022 and 2023, which is when we're getting a lot of traction and we're getting into the all things trade, all things connecting, and just promoting farmers locally as well. I mean, so as in a few other places in the world, including South Korea and Southeast Asia. All right, I hope I'm not boring you there so far, guys. I'm soon to get to the cool stuff. So ultimately what Far More does, well, as I said, we work with small producers to cultivate high quality coffee. So we're enabling direct trade. For us, direct trade is a simple definition. It's when a contract is done from the person who owns the product and the person who wants to utilize the product, or the last consumer, which it's extremely difficult, guys. But luckily for us, we believe that technology speaking, we've got all of the tools to put together the services that we're already providing and connecting those people or those farmers directly to you. And why? Because again, we're designed for impact. We're designed for impact for the farmers, so that we promote better sustainable agricultural practices. We also impact farmers because we're really good at attracting young people, which is ultimately a world problem. I don't know if you're aware, guys, but most farmers worldwide, not only coffee, are old. So we need youngsters to stay there, and we're really good at promoting that. But also to roasters, like the way we broker relationships directly to farmers, how you can track the impact, how you can talk to them. It's absolutely outstanding, and it's all that moves us. So everything that we do, it's always going to be to create more impact. And one of the coolest perks for those of you who have attended our private and public copings is the traceability part. So we're the only company in Australia that is effectively creating QR codes that have got two very important missions. The first one is, as you can see, guys, I could talk a lot of crap, but in reality, we consider that there's nothing more real, unique, and valuable than, okay, it doesn't matter how much this trader can talk. If I can talk to the farmer myself, that alone is the best of the truth, right? So within our QR codes, it's a lot of work for us to keep them going. There are product journeys. All of the information on how much they're getting paid is in there. Every single point A to point B of where the lot's been moved is also displayed. And as I like to say, and we're showcasing here, what we're promoting is the full connection. So within 2 clicks, you could be directly talking to any of the farmers that we represent. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for that. So we're going to start heading towards the coolest bit of tonight, which is the coffee immersion trip and what we're going to be seeing. So the first thing that I'm going to be showing you, obviously, is the map of Colombia. And why? Because Colombia, ultimately, we've got a lot of states. We've got 32 states altogether, including the islands. Across those, there's almost 19 different subregions or states where we're growing coffee, but effectively Colombia is divided in 5 different regions: the northern, the southern, the 2 center ones, and the eastern one, right? We are a coffee country, guys. In saying that, on this trip, we're going to be focusing a lot on the south zone, which is towards the Cauca, Nariño, and Huila, and then the central north and central south. Why the south zone? So last year, once again, towards Impact, I had the chance to go back, and we started this relationship with Wilton Benitez over 3 years ago, but I made a promise that I wanted to focus a lot on the south zone. And why is that? Because the south zone, guys, is an amazing part of Colombia. To me, it was like rediscovering my country. I've never seen so many real, truly indigenous coexisting with all of these sort of Western Colombians as well as Afro-Colombians in just one little place. So it is really, really cool. That, culturally speaking. When it comes to ecosystems, Cauca and Nariño, which are 2 of the southern sort of states in the country, are very important because that's where the Colombian Massif begins. And what's the Colombian Massif, guys? I don't know if you're aware, but we've got through South America the Andes, which is the biggest mountainous region, and in Colombia splits in 3. It literally happens in that area. So that's where the Andes, first of all, splits in the 3 sort of mountain columns that we call in Colombia, which makes our country so rich to produce coffee, but also is the beginning of the 2 main rivers that cross the country all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a land that should be preserved, is very important, and also has been affected a lot by the violence. So if you want some statistics, guys, and why Farmore is focusing so much in there, is because within the south zone of Colombia, you find close to 211,000 coffee growers that only work across 280,000 hectares of land. So that makes less than 1.5 hectares per producer, effectively making them the smallest smallholders of all of Colombia. So that's where we're going to start our trip, and we're going to be doing 7 different states all together. Now, guys, just quickly, as a little bit of a break, and before I start to deconstruct what the whole immersion trip is going to be, we're going to jump to the next slide. Jack, if you can help us, please. And I'm just going to play you a video. It's a testimonial from a person that's attended one of these experiences with us. So let's go for it. Jack, it's 2 minutes, guys.
First day of your immersion trip. How do you feel so far?
Incredible. The scenery is amazing. People are amazing. I can't say enough how I'm sort of speechless on how incredible this place is.
How long have you been working in the coffee industry, Carl?
I've been working in the coffee industry about 3.5 years.
Through all that time, did you ever imagine how hard it was to produce the coffee bean that you use on your work every day?
No, I didn't realize. I knew it was difficult, but to actually grasp how difficult it is, you can't comprehend until you see it.
So how can a barista get that understanding the complexity and difficulty of the process?
Currently, online resources, talking to as many roasters and people who have been to Origin as possible. But from the amount of people I have spoken to, there's a limited capacity to be able to come and do a trip like this.
What do you think it would do for a barista having that perspective?
It would increase the motivation and the will to want to talk to people about how difficult this process is. It's taken way too easily by people to say that they can drink their $4 cup of coffee every day. It really gives you an understanding and want to teach people.
What do you think could help the consumer to get a better appreciation of sourcing and production?
People like baristas like myself talking to people and explaining the process and why people should be focused more on the quality and where the things have come from to impact these farmers' lives and help out the community as a whole.
Thinking about now you've been exposed to the community and the culture, how has that changed your view of coffee?
Absolutely so. The time and effort and passion, it's incomprehensible from sitting or standing behind a coffee machine in Australia. To come over here and see how much time and pleasure these people get from working in this harsh environment is quite amazing.
Okay, guys, so that's a little testimonial of what we do. Personally, my promise to you, and I'll be myself your tour guide in Colombia, it's I'm happy to give you your money back if you don't come back change with your perspective of life. Like, it's a life-changing experience, and every single one, that's my promise, every single person that's come with us leaves with something different. So okay, thank you so much, Jack. Let's move to the next one. So that's a little bit of a testimonial. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. So our itinerary is going to be of 14 days, guys. Now, I've done this trip multiple times. Back in the day, I used to do it in 7 days. Frankly speaking, last year, I took my pana, but I also took a bunch of farmers, including Pedro Gabarra from Brazil. So he came and joined us. And to be honest, I almost killed them, guys. So Colombia is a rough country. There's a lot of mountain. There's a lot of altitude. So on my experience, because we want to give you the most value for money, we've extended it now to 14 days, so 2 weeks of lots of goodness. So on the first day, and this is very important, guys, I'm just going to deconstruct this in a lot more detail very soon. But personally, I advise you, if you're coming over, to join us before day one. At least give yourself 1 day before we begin, just because of the altitude. It really gets harsh, especially in a city like Bogota, which is where we're going to begin. You got to keep in mind that it's one of the highest altitude cities in the whole world, and you're gonna feel, pardon my French, literally like shit if you're not used to altitude. So keep in mind that the first days is getting you used to that altitude sickness, to be able to breathe, etc. And then we begin with day one. Rest assured, before day one starts, guys, if you join this trip, we're already going to have accommodation ready for you just the night before, and then onwards, all the way onwards to the 14th day. So just quickly, as I was saying, first 2 days we're going to spend in Bogota. The first one is letting everyone acclimatize with the city. It's kind of like a free day. Get yourself comfortable. It's a big trip, guys, and jet lag is also going to hit you really hard. So take that day very easily. I'm not going to harass you unless you want to see me. Then on day 2, we've got prepared a little like a chill, get to know Bogota, you know. So I'm going to be your tour guide in my own city. I'm going to show you our culture, a little bit of our food, good like places to be. It's more of like a tour guide on just Bogota. so that then in day 3, when you're feeling slightly better, we can start a proper coffee tour. And we will start it in Bogota, where we're going to be doing a journey and showcasing the specialty coffee in Bogota. After that, on day 4, we start our coffee trip. We're taking a plane down south across Cauca, and we're going to be staying in Popayan. That's when we're going to go meeting Wilton Benitez. Then later on, we're going to go to Cali. Most likely, we're going to be meeting Colombian barista champion, Edwin from Cali, who's going to be waiting for us there. We're going to have a free day. I don't want you to get too overwhelmed with so much travel. Then we're going to start heading towards the coffee axis area, guys. So after Cali, we're going to use Cali as well to concentrate again, regain energy, and then we're going to take on a drive for almost 7 hours to the center of Colombia to what is called the coffee axis. In the coffee axis, we're going to be based around Salento, Quindío, and one of the things that we're going to be doing there, first of all, is we're going to go to Sarah's farm. For those of you who know Sarah, she's a rock star, and she's one of the first people that started working with us. But also, we're going to be visiting all of that part of the coffee axis, which is three different states. And we're going to finish by going to Paul Doyle's farm, guys. I've personally spoken already with Paul, Sarah, and Wilton this week, and they're super excited to see us arriving in their farms. After we finish with Paul, we're going to move to Medellin City, which is the second biggest city in Colombia. And we're gonna take you guys to what it is our laboratory and quality, like QC sort of center in Medellin. And that's where we're gonna be learning more of the post-harvesting, which is export ready process. We ideally spend 3 days in Medellin, and ultimately we fly all together to Bogota, where we're gonna be doing our farewell. All right. Okay, so let's break it down. I've just got a couple of slides prepared, guys, on 3 days. So this is where you can take notes and get questions if you want. So said the first day, we're going to be welcoming you to in Bogota. We're ideally going to stay in hotels around what we call the pink zone in Bogota. Is one of the trendiest areas, and that's where we find some of the best coffee shops, such as Libertario. For those of you who are not aware, Libertario is the front shop of La Palma y El Tucán, who are dear friends of ours. So we're going to be heading there. We're going to be heading to Azahar, which is another amazing impact company, but they're more focused on United States. We're going to go to Tropicalia, which is one of the newest, trendiest cafes, etc. In Bogota, I love to do this, guys. So the second day, I think, is going to be one of my favorites too, which is just cultural. Me showing you my city, myself, non-coffee related. But that's about the first 3 days. As I said, it's a little bit of getting used to the altitude, getting acclimatized, getting rid of the jet lag as much as we can, and getting ready for what's going to be a very intense travel session. Okay, so as I said, day 4, we're going to be moving towards Popayan. It's a fascinating city, guys. Popayan historically has given Colombia the biggest amount of presidents in history. It's an area that used to be extremely rich. Then it saw a lot of slavery. And right next to it is where you find the biggest, like sugarcane sort of farms in the whole of Colombia. So they used to. It's a. In my opinion, Cauca. It's a wall of contrast in that country. But it is also really cool, and the work that we're doing, because Cauca, guys, is the entrance to the south. And what happens in the south, unfortunately, to this day, is the drug trade. So one of the reasons why we're focusing on Cauca is a lot of the people that we work with are people that's coming out and substituting illegal crops such as coca and cannabis for something more legit, such as coffee. But apart from that, beautiful city, guys, super colonial, really tiny, very old, really, really, really nice and really welcoming. Then on day 5, we will be heading towards Granja Paraíso 92. That requires a whole day, guys. Wilton's got several types of infrastructure in his farm. So he's got 3 different complexes. One is the milling station. We're going to stop there and see how we pack in our coffees, how the whole milling process works. Then we're going to be heading towards a little bit up the mountain into one of his farms, in fact, Granja Paraíso, where he's got his coffee laboratory. We're going to be tasting coffees with him. We're going to be learning firsthand about the new processes that he's doing, including the kojic and yeah, whatever weird thing he's coming across. I can guarantee you that by the time we get there, guys, he might have 10 new things. So you'll never know with the guy. And yeah, and then later on, once we finish the day with Wilton, we're gonna be heading towards Cali. So up to this day, guys, day 6, I want you to bear in mind that here in Cali, Cali is the capital city of the Valley of Cauca. So Cauca, again, was one large state, and then it's got split into different states. One of those, the Valley. Cali, as a matter of fact, guys, is the capital of salsa. I hope we're going to have the energy to perhaps go for a little bit of a boogie. I'm not sure if we will. Can't promise anything, but yeah, phenomenal city, very tiny, very beautiful. And that's where we're going to try to regain energy. And we're going to meet Edwin Tosconi. Can we move to the next slide, please, Jack? Then once we finish in Cali, as I said, we're going to be heading towards the coffee axis. So we're going to be establishing in Salento and going towards Sara's farm. Sara's farm is really cool, guys, because you're going to notice the difference. Paul is very, very, very tiny, but very well developed. Wilton is kind of larger and modernized, super organized. Sarah and Sarah's family, since she's a fourth generation coffee grower, her family and her farm, that's the true, most original, how do you call it, traditional growing farm. In fact, there's a really funny quote that just happened on our most recent trip, and she's just going into the bushes, and she's like, oh, I want to show you this. Within 5 meters that she's gone in, she got lost. Then I got lost. Then my missus got lost. Everyone got lost. And the only way to find each other on Sarah's farm was literally shouting at each other, oi, oi, until we managed to find ourselves on the side of the road. But really cool experience. There's a lot of changes in that farm, and she's amazing. We're going to be trying some of her new projects. Then moving forward, and as part of exploring the coffee axis, I've got a plan for us, guys, a visit to some of the most beautiful coffee towns in that area. So we've got Salento, we've got Pijao, we've got Finlandia, and we've got an excursion to one of Colombia's most iconic sceneries. And in fact, our main tree, our national tree, comes from that region, which is the Cocora Valley. And it's ultimately like it's a breathtaking place in Colombia. Lastly, we're going to be visiting Paul Doyle. As a matter of fact, guys, Paul has got 2 different farms. He's got one in Marsella, and then he's got one in Santuario. We're still yet to define which farm we will be visiting. But rest assured, we're going to see Mr. Paul Doyle. We're going to do a coping with him. As I've mentioned, and that's one of the reasons why his produce is so expensive, he's very tiny, guys, very, very tiny, and you're gonna see how tiny he is, but he's waiting for us with open arms to show us some of the best coffees that people are accessing in the planet. Okay, lastly, yeah, we're gonna finish in by going back to Medellin. That's where half of my family actually comes from, guys. So yes, believe it or not, I'm also from a coffee family. It goes in mine for like 5 generations, in fact. And that's where my mom was born. As I said, that's also where we've have got our laboratory and our QC headquarters. So in Medellin, we're going to be meeting part of the Farmore ground team. We've got our exports manager and our QC director, who's Nikolai, both living in Medellin. So we're going to be seeing them. We're going to go to our lab. We're going to go, guys. Well, yeah, no, none of you know, but our QC lab is located in a coffee farm inside the city of Medellin. It's insane. It's unbelievable. But yes, there are coffee farms inside the city. So we're just located there. We're going to do a tour for the farm because that farm is also part of the new projects that we represent, which is the PEC. You get to know a little bit more about the PEC very soon. Then we're going to be seeing Medellin's coffee scenes, guys. We've got very cool friends in Medellin, really cool professionals, and really good places to see. So on this sort of day, I've got prepare a visit to Pergamino Coffee, who's one of the leaders, exporters of Colombia. We're going to be visiting also our friends from Campesino. And if we've got time, we're going to go to the company that effectively discovered what we know as Caturra Chiroso, the varietal, and it's called the Laboratorio or Laboratory of Coffee. On the day 12, we've got it's like a free day, guys. We've got the option of going to Santa Fe de Antioquia, which is one of the most beautiful towns in Colombia. And it's more like, okay, we finished the entire trip. Let's just see like the bush, like the outside of Medellin and how the real fields look like around that city. And then lastly, day 13, 14, we'll be returning to Bogota, where we will be saying farewell to you all. Okay, so just quickly, guys, an overview of the three people, well, the three main farmers that we're going to be seeing. So Sara Gutierrez, who's already a Q grader, she's also a judge for Colombia's Cup of Excellence. She's on top of that the treasurer for the International Women Coffee Association on the Colombian chapter. And as I define her, my wife in coffee. I met this woman when we were both very young, and we've done nothing but working together ever since, trying to chase a dream that we thought is impossible. It was impossible then, but as you can see, we're making it a reality. So she's very dear to me, all of her family as well. I'm very excited to go and say hi to her. Next person, part of Farmore's spinal, sort of like his backbone, which is Wilton Benitez. Wilton does a lot for Farmore. So with Wilton, as I said, Wilton is part of and a pivotal part of our impact programs, as he is the one who's receiving the produce of over 250 producers. We're working currently in the area of Cauca. He's also one of Colombia's biggest innovators when it comes to coffee, and he's got a history of that resembles and resounds a lot to Farmore, guys. If you didn't have the chance to meet Wilton Benitez, he's a guy who represents the true story of Colombian coffee. He's a guy that didn't have opportunities in his life. He's literally built Granja Paraíso 92 only 2, maybe now 3 years ago. But within the span of time, he's achieved the impossible. He's the Thermoshock creator, as we all know. Just last year, he also was a Colombian coffee auction record. And he's so innovative that he's creating things as the Típica 1440, which is the highest fermentation ever recorded by any man in the history of coffee in cherries. So that's 2 months of fermentation in cherry. And lastly, Mr. Paul Doyle, who we love as well, because Paul, guys, well, he's obviously a legend. In 2019, he was a Cup of Excellence in Colombia. In 2022, we just saw Mais, Sherry from Taiwan, was crowned as the World Brewers Champion using Paul's coffees. But what we like about Paul, guys, is the fact that Paul wasn't a farmer, and it only took him, like Wilton, 2 years to demonstrate a model that we've been building and demonstrating far more. It only takes 2 years with a really good mindset to change agricultural systems. All right. I hope you're not getting bored, guys. Please let me know and we can do a little bit of a stop. Just getting to, I'm going to do this part very, very quick so we can go through questions. Yes, so just go back from the very beginning. We've also this, as I said, we created this as a learning tool. So don't think that it's just all touring and sipping coffees. In fact, we're based it so on every single stage at every single farm. We're learning the process of coffee from crop to cup. So we basically divided our learning modules, as we call it, into 8 different topics. The first one is going to be propagation. Propagation as how we doing the seedlings, how we doing the graftings, how we having the little soldiers, how do we select them, and eventually how we propagate them. Nursery is how we're going to be starting planting coffees. This is most likely to happen at Sarah's farm. What I want from you guys is we're going to be living Colombia, living or marking Colombia via planting a tree that most likely you're going to end up ultimately drinking of in a few years' time, which is a really nice way to close the cycle. That's part of the nursery. Then we're going to be moving into planting, which is a little bit more deep. We're also going to be doing a little bit of vegetative growth, flowering, fruit development, and harvesting. And harvesting, guys, is one of my favorite parts because, believe it or not, every single time that we go to Colombia in this part is we go harvesting coffee for 2 hours to 3 hours at the bare minimum, shoulder by shoulder with real people who's doing that as a job every single day. And the cool thing about harvesting is I will pay every single one of you out of my own money for whatever you collect. And don't be surprised if you're making that much. And also, I don't want any complaints with what you're going to be getting. It's not going to be much, but it's a really cool part of the process. And ultimately, we're going to be learning from post-harvesting, and that includes what it is, processing methods, QC, grading, milling, and export ready. Guys, thank you so much for that. I try to be as brief as I could. Again, I hope I didn't bore you so much, but this is the time for you to throw questions, guys.
As I was
See you
saying,
guys. Yeah, Taku, what are you thinking?
sorry, I'm just missing. I might miss one thing. What months are we going to?
Which what?
Which months are we going to?
Right, yeah, it's a great question, Taku. We've got to, we're still deciding, depending on what the demand is for, certain times of the year. We're looking at times in mid to late April, late April to early May is a key point, and that's like right after the harvest. So we're going to be looking at that. And then there's also an opportunity to go in at the beginning, the midpoint of July to sort of late July.
Okay. Great.
Actually, let me take it. I'm gonna join Jack's screen, guys, so that we can make this easier. Yes, Andrea, sorry, very good question, and I apologize that I missed that slide. Is the most important slide, I suppose. How much is the trip going to be? Okay, guys, so we first of all calculated that's an early bird. It starts at 2,800 Australian dollars, right? Not including GST, right? If you go for the later, why it's an early bird? Remember that if we manage to book everything as a bulk, I'm gonna get discounts for every single one of us, right? If you give us a late notice, it's gonna become a little bit more expensive. So we've got a contingency price of $3,300 at the most expensive. Now, this doesn't include plane tickets. Bear in mind, we can get them now roughly for 2,500 to 2,700. But what you get, guys, out of your 2,800, if you're going into the early birds, is you're getting 15 nights accommodation all across Colombia. Trust me, I'm not going to put you in huts. You're going to be in really nice hotels in really nice areas. So all of your accommodation is covered, all of your breakfasts, all of your lunches, all of your transportation, all of the planes. That includes over 3 different planes in Colombia, and you're returning to Bogota. Okay, so it's all inclusive. The only thing that we're not actually putting in are dinners in case you want to have some beers, and the coffees if you want to have some coffees, or buy some merchandise. But apart from that, even our visits to some of the top places in Bogota, or like the coffee shops, it's all part of your packet. We just wanted to do very simple for you, very accessible, and most important, we don't want you to worry about little things once you're in there with us.
I'll just quickly jump in. One of the reasons we're not doing the flights in and out of Colombia is to give you guys the opportunity to choose how long you want to stay in South America, or if you want to go elsewhere in the world. And yeah, it becomes a bit of a logistical nightmare for us at that point if everybody's coming in at different days, flying out at different times. So yeah, as Seb mentioned, we're going to be looking after literally everything internal to Colombia, and hopefully if you can get enough time over there, you can explore some of South America's other coffee gems.
But no, that's a really good input, Jack, and ideating a little bit more on what Jack says. Guys, a good example. Our friends from Cess Coffee, they literally missed me last year. The day I left, they arrived. But bear in mind that the Farmore network is quite vast. We can't just not cover all of Colombia in these 2 weeks. What I'm trying to say is, if you want to extend your trip in Colombia, entirely up to you. We can also organize for you to meet parts of our team in other parts of Colombia at your own expense. So you can go to Huila, you can go back to Cauca, you can go to Medellin, you can go to Santander. We're happy to organize that and open our contacts, but that will be entirely up to you as well, okay? So feel free to stay or even get earlier, entirely up to you.
On that as well, we've also got plenty of contacts in other countries in South America, so there's plenty to do outside Colombia as well. Yeah, I think that's about that. Do we have any more questions sort of on the trip, itinerary wise or experiential wise? Feel free to unmute yourselves if you have a question. No worries, Andreas.
Hey guys, how you going?
Hey, mate.
When are you looking to have this all booked in?
Well, so what we're doing is we're doing an early birds within the next sort of 3 days. We're sort of taking expressions of interest for the early birds, which will be sent in an email to you pretty much immediately after this meeting. But Seb, what do you think?
We're pretty open, and we want to discuss this with you guys, right? Remember, the coffee immersion trip is that I usually go to Colombia once and twice a year, right, to visit all of my people and the farms. And I just started to bring people with me. So it's literally a very personal, very tight group. We're very open to modify it. And as I said, I'm very open with the calendar. The important part is that we get into Colombia whilst there's still a harvest, right? So we've got 2 dates. Late April could be a tentative. Happy to have it open for discussion.
Yeah.
And the other one was
Mid-July.
Mid-July, guys.
So depending on the date we sort of settle on, and this will be based on feedback from you guys as well as other people who we know are interested in coming. Depending on all of that, we will be settling on a date that works best for the most amount of people. And with that in mind, we're thinking at least sort of a month to 6 weeks of lead time of like complete bookings made. As we get closer to the date of travel, flights get really expensive, as well as booking internal to Colombia. So that's flights as well as accommodation, everything that Seb's mentioned. That gets quite expensive the sort of later we leave it. So we're looking at about 6 weeks at the sort of latest, before we need everything locked in. Yeah.
Yes, Mohammed. Thank you so much for that's a good question. So Mohammed is saying,
Sorry, just before you go into there,
Oh.
did that answer your question, mate, on that one?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
No worries.
all right, going back to Mohammed. So Mohammed is asking, on the free days, we'll be wandering around on our own, or is there something planned outside of coffee? Guys, entirely up to you. You know, I've got a plan. The way we're saying 3 days is because we're gonna be together for 14 days. I don't want you to get sick of me, you know. But if you want to stick with me and come around and do activities that I'm gonna be doing across that day, yes, you can be around. It's entirely up to you, Mohammed. Also, if you keep in mind that honestly, frankly speaking, it's a tough travel, guys. It sounds like a lot of fun, but wait until you have to drive across the mountain, right? So I understand this is an experience
Also,
that you might need time to rest.
We'll be driving. You don't have to get behind the wheel in Colombia. Don't worry. It might be a bit hectic, but we'll be able to take care of you on that front. With those 3 days, everybody needs time to rest, and where we're giving you that time to rest will be in very accessible places. It's not like we're going to just leave you on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You're going to be in a nice, one of the biggest cities, sort of free to roam around there, do shopping, go to different coffee shops, chill by a pool, do whatever. Like it's going to be very chilled on those days. We might end up doing some certain things like going out for dinner as a group or splitting up. Really just depends on the day. But in saying that, Seb and I will also need our rest. It's a big trip, and so yeah, we'll be definitely taking some much needed time off during those 2 weeks on those particular days.
Okay. Also, I didn't want it to impose many things to you guys. You know, you might have your own thoughts, or oh, I would like to see this, and I don't want to be part on, or you know, like disrupting the schedule either. So yes, and as Jack said, all those free sort of sessions will be in the main cities. So you're not gonna be abandoned in the middle of Colombia. Any more questions? Yes, Mohammed, I agree. Rest is very much needed.
Hey guys,
Yeah, Aaron, go for it.
Hi, Aaron.
is there plans for it just this year or is it next year as well?
Absolutely
with
next
more
year.
notice.
Where we Yeah, absolutely. So we want to be doing this at least once a year, and we've sort of been doing that prior to COVID. And after last year, this is now a second year, sort of back in the swing of things. And that being said, yeah, we will be doing it on a yearly basis, sort of around this April, sort of through the July time as well.
Cool. Cheers for that.
No stress, mate. Anybody else, guys? Don't be shy. Seb, I think that means you made it pretty comprehensive, a pretty good prezzo. So thank you very much for doing that. Guys, if you do have any other questions that weren't answered or weren't explained today, please feel free to shoot Seb or myself a message on either our Instagram or just flick us an email. I'm Jack at farmore.co. He's Sebastian at farmore.co. We're very accessible that way. Yes, so I will be flicking over an email, as mentioned, with expressions of interest to sign up for the early bird. The full price, just to reiterate what Seb said previously, the full price for this trip is $3,360. With early birds, we are looking at bringing that down to $2,800 with a 15% discount. So we're sort of trying to secure people early and get things done early so we can also take advantage of the discounts in Colombia and in travel-wise and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll be sending you an email with all of that info ASAP. And before we wrap up, can I get an idea from you guys? Is anybody quite seriously considering coming? What are you guys thinking?
I might be able to come, but it depends which month, like April or July, to be honest, because I have another plan to Japan trip. So, but I'm quite interested. So,
Fantastic. And Taku, what works better for you?
it probably April or May, I guess.
Okay.
But also I can change my plan as well. So
Okay,
I'm very flexible. So
sure.
we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Mohammed as well. April. Is Andrea still there? No.
No, he's done. He's jumped off.
All
All
right.
good. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, we will, yeah, as I said, email you ASAP within the next half an hour. But yeah, thank you so much for coming to this info session. It's been great. It's been really cool.
Guys, lastly, for those of you who are part of the coffee industry, because I can see some names that I recognize who are not part of our industry, remember Farmore will be invoicing you from here, from Australia. So this is a thing that you can actually go for a tax refund in the end. It's part of your education and development process, coffee professionals. So that's an incentive for you to come over with us, okay? I've done it before, so and we got financial advisors here who can also back me up on that one. But yeah, guys, he's saying that. Thank you, Josh. But yeah, as I said, and as Jack mentioned, guys, feel free to shoot us emails. Jack at Farmore, Sebastian at Farmore. We're also going to be using this recording. We're going to be posting it on our YouTube channel. For those of you who didn't know that we do have a YouTube channel, we do. In case you want to go back for more details. And I'm also going to be narrowing down a full schedule on a table so that you know exactly what's going to be happening on every single day if you decide to come or not.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll end it there. Have a good. Well, thank you firstly for taking your time well into the evening. Most of you, I'm sure it's after a big hectic day at work. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll keep you updated and speak soon.
Great, Prezzo. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thanks, fellas.
No worries.
Thank you.